Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Today is the commemoration of D-Day. Another example of our United States military being the best in the world. God bless them. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning on a Wednesday. Good morning. And a good morning to you on this Wednesday, June the 6th already. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. And, of course, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Great people, great service. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And along with some of our great advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Let's go to the phone line right now and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning again, sir.
Well, have at it, my friend.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Wheels. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And right now it's time for our weather, brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn, right there smack dab on the Burley-Paul Highway. You couldn't miss it, no matter how hard you tried. It's right there, easy to find. They've got all the tools and the best of equipment to finish any project. And don't forget, I know you're doing a lot of fence building. They got all your post hole diggers, and they've got all your rototillers. They've got it all. They've got it all for you on rental tools and equipment, long and short term. Stop in and see them today or give them a call. K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway, 678-3122. And right now, here's the weather.
We're expecting another beautiful day here in southern Idaho. Here is your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Expecting mostly sunny skies for today. Winds light and variable out of the east, right around 6 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 85. Tonight, we do have a 20% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms before midnight. Some of those storms moving through could produce small hail and gusty winds. Other than that, partly cloudy skies, looking at a low of 56. For tomorrow, that could carry over with a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms afternoon. Again, some of those storms could produce small hail and gusty winds. Partly sunny skies with a high of 81. Pretty much the same for Thursday night with a low of 56. As we move into Friday, sunny skies with a high of 84, and looks like sunny and 84 for Saturday and maybe Sunday. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. And don't forget K&R Rental bringing you the weather to kick things off this morning. And don't forget, stop in or give them a call. Find out more information about all the tools and equipment available at K&R Rental. 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. Number to call, 678-3122. I am going to read something in just a moment by my dear friend Brigitte Gabriel. And I have the utmost respect for Brigitte. And as soon as I do these next two good words, I'm going to read what she said about D-Day and Normandy. So hold on just a moment. I'll be right back after we do this. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. They have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. That's not brag. That's a fact. And going into these warmer days, days and you want to kind of turn on that air conditioner, they've got all the air filters to keep it working efficiently and cool. Check them out today, Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley, where they always supply warm winters and cool summers. Now, I want to tell you again, we're going to have Lunch Bunch on the 21st. It's going to be Thursday the 21st at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, 611 North Overland in Burley. Thomas and the whole crew, we missed last month. I'll put it on my shoulders that we couldn't have it because I had to take my lovely bride, and she was in the hospital, and so therefore I'm not going to give an apology because I don't think one's needed, but I will say this, that we missed having Lunch Bunch with all of our dear friends. We're going to have it again coming up on the 21st for our June edition. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, America's Diner. Great food, great service. You be there. And don't forget, they've got another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant, you stop in today. This was sent to me yesterday by Brigitte Gabriel, and it's going to take about maybe 2.5, 3 minutes to read, but I want you to really pay close attention to this. On this day 74 years ago, Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy, France, during the largest seaborne invasion in history. Codenamed Operation Neptune, the landing marked the beginning of the liberation of the German-occupied northwestern Europe from Nazi control. Thousands of brave Americans and Allied forces died on those sandy beaches for the freedom of not only the United States, but the entire world. Now, over 7 decades later, American flags still fly all over Normandy, France. During a time when the United States of America is villainized, both home and abroad, the citizens of Normandy continue to stand strong in support of the Star-Spangled Banner. Unlike any other foreign region around the world, Northwest France understands what it means to be an American soldier. With over 4,000 American heroes buried on their land, they understand the role America plays in securing peace and freedom around the world. Days before the anniversary of D-Day, Normandy is traditionally decked out in more American flags than one would see here in America on the 4th of July. At a time when our own athletes do not respect our flag, we must never forget the sacrifices made almost a century ago to stop the Nazis from continuing their reign of terror. As Americans, we must always remain proud of the greatest of our great country, our soldiers, our military. We are the only nation throughout history that is willing to sacrifice the lives of its brave men and women to protect the freedom of others. Without patriots like all of us here in this listening audience, respecting our flag and spreading incredible stories of heroism like D-Day, our country's greatness will perish. So on this day of remembrance, she asks you, Brigitte Gabriel, that wrote this message, to reflect on how you can take your support and increase your support of local veterans and take your patriotism to the next level. I don't know how anybody could argue with this. I don't know how anybody could tear this apart. I don't know how anyone could disagree that we have a situation in this country right now, where patriotism and love of this country is on the wane. Oh, there'll be those people that say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, Zeb. It's just a couple of people. No, it's a lot more than that. The numbers are increasing because of the absolute stupidity of the liberal left. And a lot of that is a concentrated effort to deplete patriotism, lessen it, and tear apart the fabric of what made this country great. I'll stand behind that on this program any day of the week. I've got some other stories here that I want to talk about this morning in regards to our flag and our national anthem and everything else on this D-Day. But your calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I'm not going to change the subject. Give me a call. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Don't forget Pomerelle Place at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. Yes, they're today, isn't it? Yeah, the 6th. They're having from 3 to 5 p.m. this afternoon. Come to Pomerelle Place and meet the new administrator. Oh, yes, and then on Father's Day, they're going to have a celebration on the weekend, June 16th. They're going to have a car show from 10 to noon, and then a big barbecue and a concert. Oh, my, they've got all kinds of things going on. Give Holly a call. She'll tell you more at Pomerelle Place, a place for senior living at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. The number 677-8212. Thank you, Pomerelle Place. I'll be right there, caller. Stand by. Don't forget, too, Dino's Septic Service. Yes, the good people at Dino's are getting bigger and better and serving you more of a coverage area. They really have expanded, and they really provide a great service. Fast, fair-friendly service, taking care of your septic tanks that need to be pumped, and backhoe services, water and sewer lines installed, septic inspections. I'm telling you, they do it all with a smile on their face, and all you need to do is call 436-6526 or in Burley 678-1638 with that big truck that says Smells Cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Caller, good morning, and thank you for your call.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. How about Dennis Rodman going up there to North Korea at the same time our president's going up there? Has Dennis Rodman joined the North Korean Communist Party? Is that what it's all about?
I'm not going to talk about Dennis Rodman right now this morning, Tony, because I'm on a patriotism story about D-Day, but I'll tell you what, Dennis Rodman doesn't make any difference to me. Dennis Rodman has the combined IQ of a box of rocks as far as I'm concerned. I do not care what he's doing. I don't care what he does or tries to do.
Well, I had one cousin that was sunk at the Battle of Leyte Gulf in a destroyer. He was in the Navy. And I had another one. I was a gunner on a B-17, and he was wounded during the war. And when I hear all these anti-American people talking about it, they should talk to some of these World War II veterans, the Korean veterans, at the pain and destruction that they put up with to help keep this country the greatest one on the earth.
I don't think I could have said it better. That was very well stated. And I, for one, I've said this, and Wheels, we got feedback on the line. Watch that game, please. Tony, I, for one, I could not serve this country because I was 4F, but I'm doing all I can through this radio program and other events to try to provide the best in patriotism and the best of support to our military. And I thank you for your comments this morning.
And you keep right on doing what you're doing because we're behind you 100%.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye.
You know, yesterday at the White House, and this just got me so mad that I did something I wished I wouldn't have done. I picked up things and threw them. I was furious. The people in the media that are blaming President Trump for a cancellation of an invitation to the Philadelphia Eagles championship football team is insane. The man and his administration had invited them on a very cordial note, a celebratory note, to honor them for being the football world champions. And they, like many other low-class teams, which I will mention in a moment, decided, no, well, we're not going to go. Maybe a couple of guys might go. That's a slap in the face to the invitation and the way this was going to be done to honor that team. And then President Trump said, well, if you're only going to send a handful, like 5, 6, or 7 people, we will turn it into a Patriots Day celebration and I'm not talking about the football team. I'm talking about being patriotic, and they did that yesterday, and they didn't even mention the Philadelphia Eagles. But there are stupid people in the media, and they are stupid, like commentator Angela Rye of CNN, that deserves to be stocking shelves in a grocery store as her best chance of employment in life. She tore into President Trump yesterday and said that the president disinviting the Philadelphia Eagles was absolutely all his fault and dishonest because the national anthem is problematic in and of itself. What? Now we've got these commentators that have the IQ of a box of toothpicks that are criticizing our national anthem and saying things like problematic in and of itself. I really, call me and talk about this. I am never going to back off on our national anthem. I am never going to back off on patriotism. I have been criticized every morning for having the Pledge of Allegiance, but I guarantee you this. It's going to be there every morning that I sign on. I will not be cowed. I will not be told. And I will not be bullied to not show patriotism on this program. Remember that. You will not win. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, Linda.
You can hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Go ahead, please.
Okay, great. Well, very quickly, my dad was in the U.S. Army and was on the coast of Great Britain during that invasion. He was in the 76th Finance Division, and they were changing a lot of currency into French currency. They took them down to what they call the Hards and showed them boats as far as you could see on the channel. And they said, there's going to be an invasion. We are not going to tell you when. We just wanted to see what you are helping to work toward. And now we're going to take you back and lock you in the camp. So they did. And that night, Dad was up reading. I'm not quite sure how he did this, but he always loved to stay up and read after everybody was in bed. And he said, I heard the planes go over. I think he said about 10 o'clock at night. And he woke up the boys and he said, there they go, boys. And that always just sends chills up and down my spine.
Yeah.
And they said you could hear the sounds of the invasion all the next day. And then the 76th followed the men through behind the invasion, and he ended up serving in Reims, France for the rest of the war. And so whenever I sing the national anthem for you folks, I consider it a real pleasure and an honor to do that.
You know, Linda, I look at these liberal sleaze people, and I'm not going to weaken my verbiage about them whatsoever. Those that want to diminish and take away our national anthem. Those that do not want the Pledge of Allegiance. Those that do not want to stand for our national anthem or honor our flag. And I'm sitting here going, I am so blessed to have been born in this United States of America, and all the things that are available for people that want to get off their absolutely dead butts and go to work, thanks to the opportunities that are provided us because our military fought for the freedom of this great land.
Exactly. And you know that God has given you a unique role. Even though you could not serve physically in the military, and I know you would have done it well, and it would have been a high point in your life as it was in my dad's life. You are taking on that unique role using the media to help encourage and point out where we need to be patriotic and why. And then you have a huge group that you can encourage. So you do have a unique role, and thank you so much for taking that.
Linda, I thank you for that very much. That's very kind, and God bless you. And keep singing that anthem as loud and clear and beautiful as you always do.
I will, and I'm so glad you're able to come back on the 21st, you and Deanne.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Take care.
You know, I don't know how to respond. There's a lot of things I want to say. But there are restrictions on some of the commentary I'd like to make about liberals and the Democrats and the denigration of our country and the disrespect for our flag. I don't know how in the world, I don't care. I said this one time when Obama was in office. I did not like that man. I detested Barack Obama. Detested him. But he was the president of the United States. And respect for the office. And if I were on an athletic team or some other group that was to be honored at the White House, I would go. Because of this being the greatest country in the world, and they took the time to honor, whether it's the Philadelphia Eagles, whether it's an FFA chapter, it doesn't make any difference. You take the time when you're invited to go to the White House and be a part of a presidential gathering, you go and do it. You don't slam it. You don't cut it down. You don't make fun of the president. You don't make comments like LeBron James just did. And I find him to be the most worthless human being in professional sports. I know he's probably the greatest basketball player ever. Caller, I'll be there. Stand by. But for his comments that he came out with yesterday and said, regardless of who wins the NBA championship, the Warriors or us, the Cavaliers, neither team's probably going to show up and be with Trump. How disgusting and despicable. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. I really appreciate how, even though we don't agree with who the president is at the time, that we have enough sense of fortitude, you and me and many other people, to respect the office of the presidency as being our president, being the president of the United States. That means a whole lot, and that's what's missing with these people is they didn't get their way. They're throwing a fit. They need to respect the office, even if they don't respect the person.
Absolutely.
Reflect back on us as a citizen.
And you know something else that really rubs me the wrong way, Riley, is there has been people even here in our Magic Valley that have criticized Donald Trump, and they said, well, like Jim Jones in the paper the other day, Donald Trump is no role model. Wait a minute. Yesterday's activity was a role model, if you will, for patriotism and our younger generation to look up to what was done. And the Philadelphia Eagles and the rest of their management, they blew it.
Well, he's listening. I got something to say about a role model. Who does he think he wants? I want my kids as a role model. Some gangster wannabe can't wear his pants up around his butt like a human being. Got to drag him around on the floor on the carpet, speaking profanity and violence on his music.
There you go.
Is that a role model?
There you
no,
go.
It's not.
There
a
you
role
go.
model is somebody who's built something from nothing, became strong, came up and helped other people become strong, and rebuilding something that was great and that was falling apart. That's a role model that I want my kids to look up at. And if he's listening, by golly, I hope I make him mad.
All right, Riley. You know what? I couldn't agree more, and I thank you for your call, as always. You do a great job explaining yourself. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really upset about this because we've got these, and it seems like these liberal loons are crawling out from underneath rocks wherever we look and listen. CNN, MSNBC, and the list goes on and on. This woman, Angela Rye for CNN, saying that she believes the national anthem is problematic in and of itself. The destruction, the tearing, the ripping, and the discarding of values in this country, it's got to stop. Caller, hang on just a moment. I'll be right with you. I want to remind everybody on Mondays we give away a dozen cookies if you'll answer the trivia question to Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. The best of a bakery. I mean, they make all the cookies and the pies and the cakes, wedding cakes. Oh, my goodness. Beautiful cakes and a great restaurant. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Don't forget that. Also, want to remind you about our dear friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Yes, it is true. The word's out. They're the best. Absolutely. I know that because I went there many times. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, with Nick Greenwell and the rest of his fantastic staff, helping you with all the exercises, the hydrotherapy pool, everything to get you back to being you. Call for an appointment today, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, they're waiting right now to serve you. Give them a call now. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I'll try to make this as brief as possible, but do you know 4,000 people, soldiers, perished on the
beaches of Normandy. And when you put it in perspective, that's half of the population of Rupert, Idaho. Now, I'm going to tell you this story. When I was in the Navy, I went to what they call an assault coxswain school.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they teach you how to land, how to handle any kind of landing craft
Right.
that the Navy has.
Right.
And one of the ones were always my favorite was the LCM.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one where you see in the movies where they go up on the beach and the front drops off.
Yeah, right.
And the soldiers rush out.
Right.
Okay, that's the one I learned how to run, and the Navy still used it up till quite some time later just for transportation. But the point I want to get across is being a coxswain of one of those LCMs, and it goes up on the beach of Normandy, and you drop the front end, and those soldiers rush out. And I'll tell you, you'll never see them again.
Yeah.
That is so dramatic. But when you go through the experience that I had, I was not in that war, thank goodness. But when I see what these soldiers were faced with, it's just unbelievable.
I agree. Keith.
And I cherish my American flag. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You know, I think it's about time for us to take the gloves off. I've said that for a long time. Anyone that criticizes our country, anybody that criticizes our Constitution, anybody that criticizes our national anthem, our Pledge of Allegiance, etc., why are you living here? Why don't you try maybe Romania or Pakistan or maybe Venezuela and see how the shoe fits over there? You are so blessed to be in this country. And I want to just get this point across. And I'm not saying all. I'm saying the many of the black athletes are nothing more than spoiled black brats. LeBron James, just to name one. And the attitude of, gimme, 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 I want more, no, I'm not going to stand for the anthem, and the absolute slap in the face to the people that have absolutely given them what they're making today in million-dollar contracts playing a child's game for a living. I have no sympathy for those black athletes. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. They are entertainers. That's it. They're there to entertain us. They play that game. We pay for it for entertainment. We don't go watch it and play for it to be dictated to on how we are supposed to be patriots and how we're not supposed to be.
I'm very emotional about this program this morning because I had family members that were involved in D-Day. And, of course, I was born shortly after the war, but I do know of the stories of some of my relatives that did not come home. I knew other soldiers that I've talked to about the horrific consequences of what happened. One, of course, you know I've had on my program many times up to his passing, and that was Russell Smith. I've had many other soldiers, and when they start telling stories about what happened and how it happened, their voices choke up and the tears run down their cheeks. And I think of them and what they gave and were willing to give for this country, the United States, and us. And then I look at these spoiled punks, and they are spoiled punks, that won't stand for the national anthem. And I'll tell you, Doug, I'm fighting mad.
Well, me too. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, and they have fallen for the left rhetoric of America is a bad country. America is terrible. America is racist. If we're bad and racist like we are, how did we have a black president, a black DOJ, a black female DOJ, and many black people in the government, like right now, Ben Carson is a black man taking care of HUD. If we're racist, how in the heck did that ever happen?
Well, I'm just at the point where, like I said, I've taken the gloves off. Anybody locally, and when I say locally, I mean within the confines of Magic Valley or anywhere else that comes out with this kind of stupidity, I'm going to point my finger at them, mention their name, and I'm going to rail on them for them to crawl back under the rock where they belong. But when I hear people like this CNN commentator, Angela Rice, say that the national anthem is problematic in and of itself, and then criticize Donald Trump for being the cause of the problem of why the Philadelphia Eagles didn't go to that patriotic honor yesterday at the White House? Baloney! It was the mayor of Philadelphia, the coaching staff, and the owner of the Eagles and everybody else that should be having a finger pointed at them, not the president.
Exactly. They were the ones throwing the tantrum, thinking that they would be able to throw egg in the president's face, but little do these liberals and the left understand President Trump is a lot smarter than they think he is. He's so good at turning the tables and making them look like children.
Well, which they are, and quite frankly, I'm just appalled at what's going on. Doug, I'm a little short because I haven't on time. I have not taken everything into consideration that I've got a whole bunch of things to do here this morning, and I know that you've got a ticket to give away for this coming Saturday at the American Legion Paul Post 77 annual German sausage breakfast. And what's the question for today? You want me to give you a question?
Yeah, you do it.
All right. I'm going to ask a question right now of the audience. And this is an easy one, and Doug has got the ticket for you to go to this great breakfast on Saturday. Name the star of the movie, a very patriotic movie, Forrest Gump. What was the name of the actor that played Forrest Gump? And first person to give us a call real quick, 436-2244, will win that ticket to go to the breakfast at the American Legion Post 77 this coming Saturday. Right, Doug?
Right. Let's make it 2 tickets.
All right, 2 tickets. 2 tickets! Holy smokes, you can't beat that with a stick. That's $16 saved on a great breakfast. All you have to do is call 436-2244 really, really fast and tell us who the star was of the movie Forrest Gump. You know what, Doug? I'll tell you what. We'll have them come over to your location and get the ticket. I've got to clear open that line and do a commercial break. So hopefully they'll give you a call over at Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. That's where the tickets can be picked up.
Yeah, 635 21st.
Oh, hold on. We got a winner, I think, on the air. Go ahead, caller, quickly. What's the answer?
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks. You have won, and please go to that breakfast. Doug, tell her where you're located real quick. She'll come over and get the tickets.
635 21st Street. And if she can't make it here, have her give her name, and then I will put it a will call at the American Legion for Saturday.
God bless both of you. And what's the name, please?
Mary.
Mary. And the last name?
Johnson.
Well, good morning, Mary Johnson. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and you?
Well, peachy, thank you for calling. We appreciate it.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Jeff.
All right, thank you much.
Bye.
Doug, take care. Thank you so much. As I said, I'm running a little bit late, but calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. 3 locations serving you, and service is the key word. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan, great guy. 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls with Eli. Man, I'll tell you what, he can help you. And in Nampa at 2324 Caldwell Avenue. Yes, all the equipment rentals. Yes, all the retail equipment sales. They've got all the Walker mowers. Oh, you can mow up a storm. And then, of course, don't forget all the different sizes and shapes of the Bobcat excavators. Everything for you at Barry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and, of course, Nampa. You stop in and see them today. Also, real quick, I want to remind you about Scott Gano. Hello, Scott Gano, landscaping and tree trimming service. I'll tell you what, these are really good people that know their business and can help you. Now, maybe you had A lot of damage with the winds that went through earlier and knocked apart all the trees and everything. Well, take heed and give them a call at 438-2485. Scott Gano Landscaping and Tree Trimming at 336 South 450 West of Heyburn. That number again, 438-2485. And by the way, now is the time to get those fruit trees trimmed too. Scott Gano Landscaping and Tree Trimming. You call him today. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Tuesdays, of course, on this program, we've got a brand spanking new segment on our show at about 9:47, and that's with the Stoats Equipment Ag Minute at 119 Overland and Burley. Stoats Equipment, oh my goodness sakes, featuring agriculture and the people and events you need to know right here in Magic Valley. Stoats Equipment, your John Deere dealer, making your life easier. Again, at 119 Overland and Burley, Stoats Equipment, Ag Minutes on Tuesday. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I do want to mention one other story because I want to give kudos. I want to give a great big pat on the back and say, Big Sky Athletic Conference, you really are leading what should have been done a long time ago. The Big Sky Athletic Conference has adopted a rule. Now listen carefully to this. It was in the paper this morning, and I'd heard about this coming on for about 2 weeks. The Big Sky Conference has adopted a rule that would ban student athletes with convictions for violent crimes from participating in sports or receiving athletic scholarships at league schools. Amen. Amen. It's about time to be cracking down. It's going to go into effect in the 2019-2020 school year, and the rule would ban athletic participation for current or prospective student athletes who have been convicted of or have pleaded guilty or no contest to violations including sexual violence, domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, sexual exploitation, or any assault with a deadly weapon or that causes injury. It's about time. The Big Sky Athletic Conference doing its best right now, I think, with this ruling to clean up the trash and not even let it on campus. I salute them. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, and yes, I said trash, and I meant it. Let's not forget our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And I'll tell you what, for your hearing health care, please, if you're having problems, make an appointment with them. Call the number at 312-0957. Dr. Pickup and Dr. Mitchell, absolutely, you can trust your hearing health to them. They can help. They will help. At Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, 312-0957. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We're expecting another beautiful day here in southern Idaho. Here is your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Expecting mostly sunny skies for today. Winds light and variable out of the east, right around 6 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 85. Tonight, we do have a 20% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms before midnight. Some of those storms moving through could produce small hail and gusty winds. Other than that, partly cloudy skies, looking at a low of 56. For tomorrow, that could carry over with a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms afternoon. Again, some of those storms could produce small hail and gusty winds. Partly sunny skies with a high of 81. Pretty much the same for Thursday night with a low of 56. As we move into Friday, sunny skies with a high of 84, and looks like sunny and 84 for Saturday and maybe Sunday. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much. And, of course, brought to you this hour by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And I ask you to schedule a hearing health evaluation. All you need to do is call 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go, please.
For lunch, Sky, today at the
Burley Senior Center. We're having turkey and dressing and mashed potatoes and gravy and green beans and cranberry sauce and yummy dessert. And I invite everybody to come and join us.
All right, Joe. Well,
have a great one.
We're going to send them over turkey and all the fixings there today at the Senior Junction on Overland. God bless you, my dear friend. And don't eat too much. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Day.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Joe Taylor, thank you very much. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb?
Yes, sir.
There's two gentlemen from Burley, Idaho, that lost their lives on that day in France. And every 4th of July and every time we have a celebration of any kind, I think of those two guys.
Bob, let me ask you a question while you're on the phone with me. Don't hang up. When you hear stories and see on the news the disrespect that is growing like a cancer in this country against our flag and against our national anthem and against our patriotism, what are your thoughts about this?
I think those people are as low as a whale's belly on the bottom of the ocean.
But, you know, isn't it about time that we started, and I mean this, fighting back and really chasing them back under the rock they live in? It's about high time that we started speaking up, is it not?
Absolutely. We've got to fight back, or it's terrible. It's horrible. There's no respect, no nothing for our country and for our flag, and I wish those people would get the hell out of here and see what they can do better.
I totally agree. Bob, thank you for your call. I appreciate that.
Russia maybe, or somewhere over there, and see if they can talk like that and do the things that they can do. And I think most of this, nearly all of this stuff has to lay at the feet of Barack Hussein Obama.
It took a big turn. It took a big turn when he was in there for 8 years. Bob, I agree with you, and I thank you for your call. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, we got to do something. I mean, there are those. There's the liberals in the audience right now that are going, oh, he's just stirring up strife and trouble. No, I'm not. I'm trying to put it down. I absolutely, being that I shared my life with the rodeo business for over 47 years, and I stood up from the national finals to every major rodeo in this country, stood up and put my hand and my hat over my heart while the national anthem was being played, and I looked out over the crowds of people with their patriotism and their honoring of this country, and then I see these slobs like the NFL and others of the NBA, etc., denigrate and put down patriotism in this country, and it makes me fighting mad. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, Zeb. Hey, I've been, in the last 4 days, clear to Denver and back, and, this big thing that's been on Facebook about how Flying J and Pilot and all of them have taken their flags down and aren't flying them, and I've been watching as I've been out on the road, and a lot of news stations now aren't even putting flagpoles up. And I stopped at a Flying J up in Caldwell. There was a flagpole, an empty flagpole, and I went in and I asked them, how come you guys aren't flying a flagpole out there, or a flag out there on that flagpole? And they said, well, we're getting new flags, and we're going to put them inside. And he said, that business is on Facebook. It's all false. He said, that just happened at one deal that was having problems with the flagpole. I said, well, now, wait a minute. You guys have got a flagpole out here, and there's no flag out there. He said, no, that's not a flagpole. That's an antenna. I thought, man, do I have a big red S written on my forehead? I know a flagpole when I see it.
This just sickens me, and people like you, I really respect for asking and wondering and finding out why they're not flying a flag, why the patriotism is on the wane in this country. Next Thursday is Flag Day. And I'll tell you what, I would really appreciate it if you would let me know what you see or don't see, what you hear or don't hear about patriotism and our flag for next Thursday. Be sure and give me a call back, would you please?
I would love to do that. You betcha. We'll see you.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
You know, and I'll give you a little preview. And if you don't like it, the liberals in the audience, I don't really care. This is what we're going to do. Next Thursday, thanks to my dear friend Wheels over at the station, we are going to, in the first hour of the program, play songs that are absolutely poignantly dedicated to our flag and our patriotism. So that's going to happen next Thursday on Flag Day. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again, sir. You know, I fly a flag on the north side of my building facing 21st Street or Alfresco Road every morning and every day. And I've noticed across the street there's a building where people get WIC, the WIC program, and that They don't even have a flag pole.
Well, then I would suggest it's not that bad or hard or difficult, even for a person that's not very construction-oriented like myself, to make maybe a flagpole. They could put a flag on and stick it right by the door.
I think I'll take one over there one day and plant it in their yard, see if it stays.
Would you please do that and let me know what takes place? I would really appreciate that, Doug Martin. God bless you for that thought.
You bet.
All right, sir.
Everybody around here, if you want to get a hold of them, let's complain about this. See why they don't have one.
Amen. Thanks, Doug.
God bless you.
Thank you. Don't forget the Bennett boys are going to have a super good auction on Saturday, June 9th, the Garrett Construction Auction. It's going to be located in Shoshone at 503 South Rail Street in Shoshone. They're going to have trucks, and they're going to have pickups, and they're going to have trailers, and they're going to have construction equipment. They're going to have tractors. They're going to have welders. Holy cow. All of this is going to take place at 10 o'clock starting time, June 9th, over in Shoshone at the Garrett Construction Auction, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys sell them all. Look for the signs. It's going to be on Saturday. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Real quick note here. The media, of which I'm a part of, and I'm ashamed and embarrassed as to some of the media members that call themselves journalists, and they're not. They're just absolutely bums the way they treat stories. The media has gone to an all-time low. Some have written stories, and you've probably heard this, some have written stories in the last couple of days saying that the reason Melania Trump was not seen for the last month, oh no, it had nothing to do with kidney surgery. Oh no, it had nothing to do with her being in Walter Reed. Some of these sleazebags are coming out and writing stories saying, well, Trump must have beat her up. I just don't understand how they can be so stupid and so contemptible. And here's Melania Trump, the First Lady, and she's a very classy First Lady. And now they're coming out and they're starting these kind of rumors. And you know, there's people dumb enough to believe some of this stuff, that the reason she hasn't been seen is because President Trump beat her up. I'm telling you, the world is messed up, folks. And we've got some real crazies living right here. Don't forget our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And they say if you're getting ready for a road trip, don't forget they've got the best of tires right there at all 7 locations. Yes, all the different tread designs for your car, pickup, SUV, horse trailer, boat trailer, to get you going where you're going and get you back home safely. Don't forget. And they have the best of brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more. But service is always what they absolutely are the best at. Taking care of you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I have exactly 30 seconds. Real quick, go.
Well,
when you have a certain amount of your population is morons, and you say a statement, or it's online or on your device, people believe anything.
Yep.
Because they don't know nothing. They don't. All they know is what's on that stupid phone in front of them, and our younger generation is uninformed and maybe as dumb as dirt. and just because it's said, then they believe it.
Yeah, I agree.
They want to believe it.
I agree. You know, Randy, I wish you would have called in a little earlier. I'd like to have more time to visit with you on this matter, but I do appreciate your comments, and I want to extend to you and your family to have a good day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
You bet, buddy. We're going to take a little break right now, and then we're going to come back next hour with Dave Bigo from Indianapolis, Indiana, and followed by Dan Joseph talking about trade practices. Don't miss the next hour. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Wheels, take it away. Oh, my. It gets worse every day. Some of the news items. Good morning, good morning. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, our thank yous to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. If you're getting ready for a road trip, let them get you ready with the best of tires for your vehicle. And don't forget, too, our advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, Wheels, how about a good word for Western Way Services?
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Way Services, always at your disposal, and I urge you to call them. It's easy, 734-6969. Get on the route service, and once a week they'll come by, get your garbage. It's gone. Wave goodbye. And they are so efficient, so good. Give them a call today. 734-6969. Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Also want to remind you real quick that I have been blessed on this program by having some dear friends, many of which I want to talk about right now, including Cassia Regional Hospital. Every Thursday at 9:17, we have a special segment introducing you to the dedicated medical experts serving you at Cassia Regional Hospital. Don't forget, that's on Thursdays at 9:17. Your friends, your neighbors, Cassia Regional Hospital. Quality care close to home. And also, too, hello, Joel Heward. You know what they're going to be doing over at Hanson Mortuary on the 4th of July? They're going to have a great big breakfast before the parade, and everybody's invited. Holy cow, they're going to have bacon and cheese, potatoes and crepes and everything. It's going to be fantastic. Don't miss this, right before the big Rupert 4th of July parade. Right out in the parking lot of Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, the number to call, and remember, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, always treating you and your family with the highest of integrity, highest ethical standards, always serving you with Joel Heward, his staff, and Joel also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and one of my dear friends from Indianapolis, Indiana, glad to have him back, Dave Bigo. How are you?
I'm doing good. Zeb, how you doing?
Not bad. Hey, listen, I've got a little news story that you may not be aware of, but it is in regards to the Big Sky Athletic Conference, which has teams Montana, Idaho, Utah, Arizona, California, Colorado, Washington, and Oregon. But listen to what they're going to start in 2019, and I commend them for them, and I want to get your opinion on this. The Big Sky Conference has adopted a rule that would ban student athletes with convictions for violent crimes from participating in sports or receiving athletic scholarships. I think this is great.
Yeah, I think they ought to keep it clean, so that sounds good.
That's all you got to say?
Well, I went through college on scholarships and everything, and back in the day, we went through quite a process, and I think that process should continue, and everybody should be vetted, and as long as they meet the requirements, and they should move ahead. The problem is today in too many parts of the country and in the NFL, as we know, too much political correctness has been involved.
Okay, you mentioned the words political correctness, and I'll tell you, that's like waving a red flag at me, because then I'll start charging. I'm listening to the comments, the absolutely absurd, stupid, juvenile comments of LeBron James. The NBA Finals not over, and he came out and said, well, it doesn't make any difference which team wins the world, because neither one of us are going to go to the White House and be a part of Donald Trump and his administration. This just acts like, and they are, spoiled black brats that really do not understand what a great country they live in.
Well, that's really true, and the problem, too, is behind the scenes, it was like Kaepernick, starting the kneeling process. Behind the scenes, the unions are involved in this kind of stuff, and they're talking about social justice all the time and all this kind of stuff, and, that's where they're going, and we got these other organization like Tides that talk to these professional people and get them involved in the social justice, and we ought to do all this stuff, and what they want to do is get away from a country that works hard and uses the free market capitalistic society to grow and prosper and use their abilities to their max, and instead they want just everybody to be, social justice. Equal wages, income inequality, and all that kind of stuff. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, it is, and I was absolutely appalled as to how this White House visitation by the Philadelphia Eagles was looked down upon by the Eagles and their management, and very, very few, a handful of players said that they would go. I think it was about 9 players, and so Donald Trump did what I would do. Hey, if you don't want to be here as we pay you tribute of being the Super Bowl champions, fine, we'll have a patriotic day, but we'll do it without you. And the media, the pond scum media, comes out and blames Donald Trump and say that he's the one that canceled everything. The Philadelphia Eagles should be looked down upon and scorned for their unpatriotic attitude.
Well, that's exactly right. And again, it's behind the scenes, and I can't remember what it was the other night I saw on TV that it was on one of the liberal networks, but even one of the host on there admitted that they were told behind the scenes what to say and what not to say. And this is the control that the unions and the far left are using on the media in this country, and then getting into the heads of students in all levels of schools around the country, and athletes, and the NFL, the pro sports, and using these people and brainwashing them to bring down this country.
Absolutely. And, I thought the media couldn't go down the rung of the ladder much lower, but they have. They have made me even more aware that they're lower than pond scum. This rumor that was started by a couple of people that write for, I'm trying to think of the publication, Rolling Stone. They wrote an article in there, and he said, well, the reason that Melania Trump hasn't been seen very much in the last month, oh, no, it's not because she had kidney surgery. It's because probably Donald Trump beat her up. What a disgusting rumor to start, David.
Well, Zeb, I'm used to this stuff, because that's the same thing that tactics the SEIU used against me and my company and my employees and customers. They'd accuse us of things that were just out-and-out lies and ridiculous. And this is what they do because they know a lot of people around the country will listen to it and go, oh, wow, that's bad.
Yeah.
And they won't dig into it and find the truth.
What a bunch of morons are involved in the media right now. I've never seen anything like this in my 70 years to where the media is so biased and so left and so absolutely in la-la land that they will create fictional stories hoping that a percentage of the audience, the American public, will jump on the bandwagon. This is not journalism, David. This is pathetic.
Well, it is, Zeb, and you know, the big problem we have, and I know I've said this many times, and it seems pretty simplistic, but people need to understand it. The Democratic Party is very concerned about their future, and the unions are concerned about their future, and they feel like they're in a downward spiral, which they are, and they're going to do anything and everything they can to brainwash people and get them on their side so they can start winning elections. And with the 2018 election coming up, this is a big thing for them. And, you know, they're already out there doing stuff, and it's going to get worse as the next few months go by.
I have talked to people in almost every state of the union, and I've talked to a lot of people outside of L.A., outside of San Francisco, outside of Sacramento, in the real heartland, if you will, of California, Red Bluff and Bakersfield and Clovis and other areas. And they say to me that, look out, California, you're going to get tipped over on your nose. They are fed up with the liberal leadership through Governor Jerry Brown. They don't want to have this continuing process of absolute sewer-like attitude towards the people and having sanctuary cities and sanctuary laws. I'm thinking, David, and I'm not going to make a prediction, but I'm thinking we're going to see some big changes there.
Well, I hope so, but again, you know, this is it's a tough thing, and the unions are out in force behind the scenes talking to their employees and other people, and it's going to get worse. And also, the unions are still using programs instituted by the Obama administration to go in and force unionize people. I don't know if you saw down in South Carolina at Boeing, even though they have 3,000 employees there, the union down there got the National Labor Relations Board to agree to do a micro unit, which is just 178 of the flight line maintenance production workers to be able to vote for union. So it didn't affect all the rest of the people, of the 3,000, but they got to vote in a small little union inside of Boeing, and they won on a 104 to 65 vote. And all this is and this is indicative of what they're doing, is they're just trying to get their foot in the door every place so they can step in and start growing and changing people's minds and perspectives on what's going on in this country, so they can get back and have the power they once had in this country, and so can the Democratic Party.
Wow. You know, Dave, I'm sure you fly a lot. I used to fly extremely many flights all during the course of my career. And fortunately, I've had the opportunity to curtail buying those airline tickets. But now we're hearing that the air traffic controllers, the new ones that have put in job applications, have the IQ of a box of rocks. And they're being chosen to be air traffic controllers purely because of diversity and political correctness. I don't know about you, but this scares the dickens out of me.
Oh, yeah, it does. You know, we need people in those positions that know what they're doing and understand the logistics and all that of this thing. And, you know, and so we don't have airline crashes, people hurting that. But we'll see where it goes. It is scary.
Well, it is scary, and they're hiring people that have no quality, they have no education, they have no background, they've never even probably been around an airport, and they're giving them a priority over people that do. This is not only crazy, it's insane, and I just pray to the good Lord above we don't have a major catastrophe.
Well, me too, Zeb. I'm always worried about that stuff, and again, you know, I'm also concerned about what's going on with the Supreme Court. You know, we got the Janus decision coming up here pretty soon, and if that Supreme Court finds in favor of Janus, the guy in Illinois, who, you know, he worked in healthcare, at homes and that, and he got tired of paying dues money to the unions, which then went to political things that he didn't agree with, and it looks like that it's probably going. The Supreme Court's going to find in favor of Janus. And if this happens, this could eliminate the opportunity for people to be in the unions, public unions, federal, state, and that local across the country, which could really be a downfall for the unions. And I think that's going to happen here in the next week or so. And I think we're going to see major things happen over the next couple of weeks. And if the unions lose, it's going to get ugly out there. And right now, the unions behind the scenes are doing everything they can to intimidate people and get to the Supreme Court.
When you talk about intimidation, and you went through this, and wrote about it in your books, The Devil at My Doorstep, The Devil at Our Doorstep, I don't think anybody is more qualified than you to talk about the fear factor, the intimidation factor of unions wanting to make you cower and get down on your knees and beg for mercy. Tell us a little bit about what the fear factor is with the unions that you had to go up against.
Well, it's really bad because they go after people personally, and they went after me personally and smeared me in the press and that. And even when I was downtown coming out of a meeting one day in an office building, they had two guys falling steps shoulder to shoulder and walking down the street, bumping me and threatening me and stuff like that. And they would follow our employees home at night, and when the employees got in the house, they'd go out and beat on their front door, and of course the employees would open the front door, and these people, union guys, would push their way in and intimidate employees. I mean, this kind of stuff went on, and this is who they are, and at the end of the day, they don't really care about the membership. It's all about the union dues for their own pocketbook and their political agenda, and that's why this is also critical right now, why it's going to be ugly over the next couple of weeks and few months while this election is pending.
Let me ask you, though, Dave, I mean, when they being the union and these thugs, when they do these kinds of things, like making and issuing threats and maybe saying that something physical is going to happen to you, what's your recourse? Can you go and go to the law, and can you perpetrate a lawsuit against them? I mean, what can you do?
Well, people can, but that's expensive, and a lot of people don't have the money to do that or the backbone to do it because they don't want to fight them.
Yeah.
And, in our cases, we filed unfair labor practices against them, and when we really got them, we filed, I think it was like 35 in one day against them.
Wow.
And, we had very detailed legal information to support our unfair labor practices. And this... Not many people will do this, and not many business people will do it. And the unions and the far left know that.
You've went through a lot, but are you glad you did what you did? I'm assuming you are. Very happy you did what you did because you beat them.
Yeah, because we stood up for employees' right and American freedoms, and that's what it should be. And, the unions... and I'm not anti-union. At one time, they did good things for this country, but they kind of lost their way, and I think they need to find their way back. It's got to quit being about how big they are and their political agenda. It's what they do for the American people and how they justify and do things the American way and do it the right way.
One other thing I wanted to mention to you, and you brought it up, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I said yesterday on my program, too, I think that the Pope has absolutely stepped out of bounds with some of his things that he has said and some of his edicts regarding climate change, the use of fossil fuels, the way we live our lives. I'm finding this very offensive because they're not really looking at it from the little man, if you will, and their viewpoint. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's and there's a lot of Catholics, which I'm a Catholic, that are not very happy with a lot of things that the Pope is supporting and his, writings that he's put out and stuff like that. And it's going to be interesting where this whole thing goes. And personally, I believe that and he believes in social justice. He is another one that's been brainwashed by this stuff. And I think the clerical people in all religions need to step back and do the right things for people and godliness, and stay out of things like climate change and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Today is a very special day, David. I don't have to tell you, I'm sure you're very much aware of it, that this is the 74th commemoration of D-Day, the invasion of Normandy, and our military, our soldiers, giving their all, not only for this country, but for the help of others.
Yes, it is, and we should all pay our respects to them and say prayers and thank God for them. If not, we wouldn't be the great country that we are today. And it's, I don't know if how many people have traveled to Europe, but I've been over to Normandy, and I've been through the seminary there where, thousands of Americans are buried. And it is, I'll tell you what, you can't help it when you walk into the cemetery. Your eyes just start watering and crying. You thank God for these people and what they did to preserve this country.
And it's so true, because a good friend of mine, and you've seen her on television, I'm sure, Brigitte Gabriel, and she wrote a great article that I read earlier this morning in the first hour. But over in Normandy today, there's probably more American flags flying over there or have been planted in the ground over there than what we will see here on the 4th of July. And like that business in Massachusetts, they put American flags on every inch of their private real estate in front of their business, and they were criticized by the city in Massachusetts by flying excessive American flags. And I say fly more, and so the owner of the company went out and bought more, and they're going to put more up. I want to see more of an American spirit, and I don't care who's offended.
Well, I do too, and what people don't realize, if they step back and look at what's the most prosperous country in this world, and where do people at all levels have a better lifestyle and opportunity than any other country in the world. And they need to start looking at that instead of this social justice stuff.
Amen. Holy smokes, did this segment go fast. Dave Beagle, I'm out of time, and I want to extend to you and yours a very, very good week, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Well, thank you, and you have a very good week, too.
All right, my friend, take care. Thank you. Dave Beagle, Indianapolis, Indiana. Thank you very much for being on the program. I want to tell you about Ark Animal Hospital, and I understand that they're welcoming a brand new vet over there, Dr. Jordan Nesbitt from the Rupert area, and they can take care of all of your animals, little bitty kitty cats and puppy dogs all the way up to your roping steers and horses and everything else. Mixed animal practice, and they take care of all their health needs. Dr. Bill and the whole crew over there at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. They do. It's really true. Have the warm hearts for the cold noses. And don't forget to get the ID tags for your pets. Yeah, with all the lightning and thunder going on and the 4th of July coming up with the fireworks, woo, they want to run and hide someplace. Make sure that they can be identified and you can get them back. Ark Animal Hospital in Hayburn, 678-1177. Really, really good people. Hey, when I talk about really, really good people, I got to talk about Sportsman's Warehouse. Hello, Reese and the rest of the crew at 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin. Oh my, they're going to have a great big Sportsman's Warehouse Outdoor Expo this Saturday, June 9th from 9 to 4 at the Jerome Gun Club Range. You can look at and shoot the products from your favorite gun manufacturers. Oh my goodness, you've got to just be there and try it. You pay for the ammunition and try those great guns they're going to have at this expo. 17 and younger must be accompanied by an adult. Waivers must be signed. All of this going on Saturday, June 9th from 9 to 4 at the Jerome Gun Club, thanks to Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin. And that leads me up to reminding you, tomorrow at 10:30, Sportsman's Warehouse sponsors the Old Fishing Hole. Great segment with Josh, the expert fisherman, and that's going to be at 10:32 tomorrow morning. Don't you miss it. If you are in the need of new furniture and maybe new carpeting and maybe new window coverings and maybe a new sofa and love seat, or for Daddy's Day, a new recliner, I know where you should go. Absolutely. You better get into Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Oh, Oh, my, what a selection. Now, take Dad with you if you're going to buy him a recliner and say, Dad, do you like this one? Dad, do you like that one? How does that one fit? Recliners fit all of us a little different, whether you're tall, whether you're short, whether you're real skinny, or whether you're like me. You've got to just get one that feels good to you. They've got them all at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. And by the way, too, another great segment that we enjoy having on during the summer months, and that's every Tuesday we have a segment at 9:30 on Tuesdays with Vicky's Country Garden, and you can learn all about gardening and everything else. I'm telling you, this lady is so good, and she's really entertaining, too. I enjoy talking to her. Vicky at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, 21 years in business serving you. And the number to call her, 438-5663. Let's go to the phone line right now and have our next guest on the phone. He was on my program. Oh, my mind is slipping. I think it's been almost maybe 6, 8, 7 months ago. I can't remember. And we say good morning to Dan Joseph. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Deb. How are you?
Not too bad. Give us a little thumbnail sketch of who you are and what you do, Dan, if you would, please.
Sure. I guess you could say my specialty is, global business and economics with a particular focus on China, where I lived for 10 years and have been doing business for almost 25 now. I've written a couple of books and actually produced a short documentary as well. And so professionally, I spend a lot of my time helping American companies do business over there, but I also, write and comment a lot on economics and the direction of business trends and things like that.
Dan, I'm going to be really blunt. That's the way I do things on this program. I'm not afraid of Russia. I'm not afraid of Putin, and I'm certainly not afraid of any Russian collusion or anything like that, but I am afraid of a very omnipotent power, and I think it's China. How wrong am I?
Well, China has a population that is almost 5 times ours, 1.4 billion people. 1 out of 6 people in the world are Chinese. And so when a sleeping giant like that awakes and begins to rise, it's going to shake things up a bit, no doubt about it. We have to keep in mind that unlike Japan and Germany, when they recovered from World War II, and let's not forget, hard to be a more implacable enemy than Germany and Japan were of ours, and now they're close allies. But after we actually went to war with them, they fell under the kind of the U.S. security umbrella. And China's not going to do that. They have their own history, their own wariness of foreign powers. They're going to go their own course, and they don't see things exactly the way we do. But here's the good news, okay? China has not had a great 40-year run economically because all of a sudden, Zeb, communism started to work. No. Communism is still a terrible idea. China has turned toward the free market. It was 100% communist 40 years ago. Now they say these things are hard to measure, but maybe about 60% or so free market-oriented entrepreneurial companies, foreign-invested companies, and the other is still government-dominated. So they're moving closer to us. That's the good news. And they've done this by engaging the global economy. That old adage that you never declare war on your customer, I think is going to hold with China.
Yeah.
So the good news is they're moving towards us, becoming more like us. They need us, but the reality is they're a huge country, and we're not going to see eye to eye on a lot of things for a while, for decades. And bringing someone of that size and that potential power into the global fold is not easy.
Let me ask you this, Dan, if I could. I need you to talk a little bit louder into the phone, and Wheels, I need you to turn him up just a little bit in my headsets, please. Dan, the thing I'm not sure that you can convince me on is that I, as an American citizen, can trust China. I mean, like you said, they've got 5 times our population, and they are in a block of countries that would like to see us go asunder. How can I learn to trust what they say and what they do?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I would not necessarily agree. I think trust is an important issue. I understand why people are skeptical. It's a different system still, although they're becoming more similar to ours. I disagree just with the suggestion that they would like to see us asunder. Again, without our economic engagement, they wouldn't have made the progress. And they do know that over there. They, on the one hand, they're playing hardball on some issues. On the other hand, I think they want to continue to engage. So, what I would say is this. We have, there is risk. I'm always, my job is to advise businesses over there. And I always say there's great opportunity in China. But you have to keep one eye on the opportunity and one eye on the risk. And you have to play both sides. We have an opportunity here to take, I like to point out to people, 40 years ago, China was in worse shape than North Korea. China could have been in North Korea. If you worry about North Korea, imagine how you would feel if there were a country like North Korea already nuclearized with 1.4 billion people. So global stability is enhanced by the fact that China has climbed out of that poverty. Okay, it's better for the world. We have still the dominant military in the world. We have all of our alliances. I think we have plenty of ways to protect ourselves. But the way to win this game, I think, is to continue to engage China, because that way they keep moving closer to us. It takes time. It takes decades. But I actually think the situation gets stable the more economically they develop. That's the way it's happened in the past.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about trade here this morning. I have maintained on this program for years, and I've done this for a long time, that the trading policies and the trading treaties for this country absolutely seem to give more, and I'm going to be very blunt and plain English, seem to give more to the other countries to help build them up, and more of a denigrating factor to us, the United States. How wrong do you think I am?
Well, I mean, if you look at, our trade, the other advanced developed countries over the last 40 years, they've been, again, moving closer to us. So when you look at tariff rates, average tariff rates, places like the EU and Japan, they're not much different than ours. Now, there are some areas that we could use to address. For example, Germany has a tariff on imported cars of 10%, but then again, we have a tariff on imported trucks of 25%. So there is still some give and take that can occur among us and the developed nations. But really, we're not that far apart. Now, with China, it's a different game. They've been gradually changing their economy, liberalizing it. But over the last 10 years, they've really slowed down in terms of that liberalization and opening up their own markets. 10 or 15 years ago, it didn't matter if you could sell something in China because China didn't have enough money. It wasn't a good customer. That's changed. They've developed so much. They're a good customer, and they can be a very competitive, competitor. Forget the redundancy. They can be a competitor as well. So what has happened is China has fallen behind in terms of the type of opening that we should expect of them. And Trump is right to continue to push them in that direction.
Okay, when you say that, and again, Wheels, we're going to have to boost him up a little bit. I'm having a hard time here at my studio. Dan, when you say that about Donald Trump, what are your thoughts on him? You know all about trade. You all know all about trade policies. Do you think this man's on the right path and the right approach by telling the world, hey, you had policies in the past that were basically in favor for you. Now we're going to make it equal. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Do you like or agree with his trade policies?
I refer to Trump. I see Trump this way. Trump is a disruptor. And I think in many areas we need some disruption. But once you disrupt, you have to put the pieces back together in the right order. And you have to be moving in the right direction. I can't say I'm 100% confident in what Trump is doing. On the trade front, he's confronting China, and that's good. But what China is the most important part of the trade puzzle. Frankly, it's not steel or aluminum from Europe or Canada. It's not even autos. Like I said, we can address issues with those countries, one at a time, one market at a time. I think broader tariffs are not going to work there. And my biggest concern is if we don't have enough unity with these other countries, Canada, Europe, Japan, it'll be harder to take China on. I'm one who would have favored a unified front in pushing China harder. Now, I'm not here to tell you that Trump's China strategy is going to collapse because, frankly, the EU, Japan, Canada, they still have the same interests as we do with China. So they're inclined to be aligned with us. but I'm a little concerned that we're focusing too much on lower impact issues and not enough on the big impact issue, which is China.
Can China become a trading partner and perhaps a peace partner with the United States? You know the intricacies of the Chinese government, having lived there and knowing the people, etc. Is there somewhat of a knot that could be tied to aid and abet each other, the United States and China, or is that a pie in the sky attitude?
No, I mean, look, we are already enmeshed, the two economies, and although you don't hear it, we're working well together and complementing each other. Now, as I said, there is a problem. Over the last decade, China has not kept up with the opening of its economy. That's one problem. We need to push them on that. The other thing that has occurred is, over the last 35, 40 years, China has gradually moved towards a more free market oriented and also a more politically a bit more liberally oriented structure. And this new president, Xi Jinping, he's kind of dialed back the political side, okay? And he's made himself kind of, the strongest leader they've had there since Mao. So that really impacts the issue you raised before, which is trust. In the past, we could always say, well, China's moving in our direction. Sure, it's slowly, but, it's hard to move in this direction quickly, so we'll give them time. Economically, we hope they continually come our direction, and if they do, that will build our relationship. The unfortunate thing is some of the things that Xi Jinping is doing on the political side make it harder for us to make those connections any better because of what you just mentioned, the trust issue.
Dan, final thought here this morning, and I'd like you to elaborate on this a little bit. The Chinese people. I mean, show the differences on a T-bar graph or whatever of the Chinese people and what they're doing, what they're achieving, what they like about their government, what they don't like about their government, what they like about their system as compared to our capitalistic society here in the United States. Are we way off as far as really a comparison between the Chinese people and us?
No. Here's what happens. We have this tendency, Deb, and you've really hit the nail on the head. I think it's important to focus not on just the leaders, but the people. And sometimes we have this notion that people around the world are, frankly, fairly similar. So we could install democracy in Afghanistan or Iraq or China, wherever we want. It really doesn't work that way. People in these countries where things have been the same for generation after generation after generation, no change, no improvement, no opportunity, people don't feel empowered. They don't feel like they can, control their own destiny. In all of these countries, they're very hierarchical. The leaders have all the power, and they're always on top. There's never any change. There's never any social mobility. But as you introduce opportunity and free market principles, as China has done, you start to see this break down. You start to see, peasants become successful entrepreneurs, and people come out of factories and become business people. Once you get social mobility, you get empowerment. The rule of law starts to strengthen. So when you're working with Chinese people, that's when you can really see that they're moving closer to us. More and more, they just want what we do. They want a better future. They want a good job. They want a good education for their kids, save their money, take a nice vacation. They're all moving in that direction. And the further they move in that direction, the more we'll have in common. However, it's interesting to note, in a country like China, they're probably more satisfied in their government than we are, because they're just not at the point where they're demanding freedom of speech, the right to vote. Their children will. The next generation will. But this generation is just getting used to having opportunity, making a better life for themselves, and they're satisfied with that. So they're actually less critical of their lack of political freedoms than we are.
Let me ask you one final idea there that just came to me. You're talking about a very innovative country with people that have a perhaps right now better work ethic than we do. And when you combine a better work ethic with the possibility of a better future and maybe some career challenges that are going to be paying back to them like we have in America, but we've lost the ethic. We've lost the want to go out and succeed. We've lost the want to use God's given assets and really achieve. Are we on the decline and they're on the upswing? Where are we?
Deb, that's exactly the way I would. I mean, you hit the nail on the head again. I do think I talk to Chinese people often, and they want to, a lot of times there's this comparison, whose system is better. I always make the point that, look, China's system is not finished. It's not complete. If you ask me whose system is better right now, it's America, no doubt. We're freer, we're more prosperous, we're technically advanced. I mean, we win right now. The difference is America is a successful country that, frankly, I think is slipping a little bit, whereas China is a historically impoverished, backward country that is undoubtedly making tremendous progress. So while we're still ahead of them, they're definitely moving in the right direction, and I'm not sure that we are. The situation in the United States is the top half of the country, particularly the top 10%, they continue to do great. But as long as we have this family breakdown and we're piling all this debt on our economy, the bottom half is going to continue to fall behind, and the rest gets squeezed by that debt level in a slower growing economy. Whereas in China, I mean, the social mobility is still very active, very aggressive. And they use this, they kind of borrow our phraseology and refer to the Chinese dream as opposed to the American dream. But make no mistake about it, the Chinese dream is very much like the American dream in that it's about a better life for yourself.
Absolutely.
The Chinese dream is only possible because of the free market and entrepreneurship and the ability to improve your life. So, yeah, when it comes to those cultural elements, actually, I think they are moving in the right direction, and I'm not sure we are.
Dan Joseph, and you got to come back more often, my friend. I've enjoyed having you on the program this morning talking about this, and I will be in touch, or if you don't hear from me in the near future, call me back and we'll get you on the air. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb. I definitely look forward to being on again.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. He knows all about China and trade practices with China because he lived over there and did business over there in China. Dan Joseph, thank you for being on the program. I asked my wife if she is having trouble hearing it on the radio, and she said yes. I don't know if it was the phone connection or what. Wheels, why was the volume so low on him? Do you think it was his phone, or what was the problem there?
To be honest, I think it might have been his phone. It seemed like I had to jack him up quite a bit just so you could hear him.
Well, okay, let's hope that next time we can get him on a better line. Right now, it's time. My goodness sakes, it's almost past time for our weather. Brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Absolutely. The professionals that can help you with the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, financial statement preparation, payroll services. They know, and they want to help you. Please contact them for an appointment today. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Right now, here's the weather.
We're expecting another beautiful day here in southern Idaho. Here is your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Expecting mostly sunny skies for today. Winds light and variable out of the east, right around 6 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 85. Tonight, we do have a 20% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms before midnight. Some of those storms moving through could produce small hail and gusty winds. Other than that, partly cloudy skies, looking at a low of 56. For tomorrow, that could carry over with a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms afternoon. Again, some of those storms could produce small hail and gusty winds. Partly sunny skies with a high of 81. Pretty much the same for Thursday night with a low of 56. As we move into Friday, sunny skies with a high of 84, and looks like sunny and 84 for Saturday and maybe Sunday. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you. And, of course, brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. You know, they can help so many folks involved in agriculture or manufacturing, food production, whatever, construction. They know and can help you. They can help people starting a business, a partnership, or business owners that want to expand and hire more employees. Get a hold of them today. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. All right, it's your turn. Give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd really like to take a couple of minutes right here and have you share with me your thoughts of what we've talked about so far this morning as some of the stories we've had on the air. Give me a call, please. I'd like to hear from you. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I am waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I'm going to tell you about our friends at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and they've got all the fun. They've got all the fun to be sold to you. That's right. The four-wheelers and the side-by-sides. Oh, my goodness, a showroom that is jam-packed so that you can get over there, find the one you want, and just enjoy the great outdoors here in southern Idaho. And they've got all the accessories, great big accessory department, and, of course, a service department to keep you running. Oh, my goodness, yes. Good people serving you at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, it's true. This is where the fun is sold. While you're over in that neck of the woods, and by the way, again, I'd like to have some calls, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, over on Highway 24, also Cameron and Siemens Insurance. These folks have been serving you for a long time. The best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more by people that are really dedicated and accessible to serving you. All you need to do is call the number, make an appointment, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I don't know if you were following any of this, but Bo Bergdahl, remember him? I know it's been a long time since we've heard anything about what is being done in his case of being a traitor and away without leave, AWOL, from his post and position and platoon. Well, now, after all these many months, elongating into years, we found out that he is not going to get any prison time for his actions. And I'll put that question out to you. Do you think that if this were 25, 30, or 35 years ago, that it would be the same in kind of what today is a very liberalized system? I wonder. And everybody says, well, he was punished enough. Do you agree with that? And now, according to what I've read and heard, his attorneys and he himself are even going to appeal to see if he can't get some of his money back on past payments due to him. I don't know, folks. This really sickens me. I'd like to hear what you have to say about Bo Bergdahl, and he's not going to face any prison time, basically a slap on the wrist for his actions. What are your thoughts? Give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget again, I want to mention this. Doug gave away a couple of tickets to it earlier this morning. The American Legion Post 77, the annual German sausage breakfast, is going to be at the American Legion in Paul on this Saturday starting at 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Don't you miss it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, it makes me sick to my stomach when I think about that piece of garbage that's gotten off with what he has. We know, and the facts are there, is all his buddies, the men that died because of him. But another thing that bothers me, too, is at that same time, there was a man who was 72 at the time, having serious heart problems, imprisoned there, and he was begging to be get out at the same, when Bergdahl did. Then there was that married couple, the man and the woman. They eventually got out, if you remember, not too long ago, and they've had 4 children, lost one. But what about those people? And then they let that scumbag get away with what he did. He should have been shot, hung, whatever they do, but never to even live.
Well, I know your opinion, and I appreciate it and respect it. And I think now, looking at what's happening or not happening, as far as a judicial slap on his wrist, it's nothing more than a slap on the wrist. If they're going to take away the prison time and possibly even thinking about remunerating him on his appeals, this is sick and pathetic, and it doesn't bode well for our military.
then I don't like the fact that our tax dollars are going to him.
I agree with you.
I'm sorry I vented for today.
No, I'm glad you did, and I appreciate it. God bless you for your call. Wheels, for some reason, I don't know what the reason is over at the station, but like we can barely hear it in our headset, so you're going to have to boost things up going into the next hour. It's really, really faint. I don't know what happened over there this morning, but help me if you can. It's not coming through very well. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The way the Bergdahl case unfolded and the way that the Obama administration basically caved and returned terrorists for Bergdahl's return, there's so many little squeaky areas that I think were never addressed. And I wonder if we're ever going to know the real reasons behind what was done with the Obama administration. And I guess the word trust that I used in the last segment with Dan Joseph, I did not, nor will I ever trust the policies and the so-called treaties and the so-called agreements that the Obama administration made, especially working through at that time the Secretary of State, John Kerry. There is a man right there that I don't have very much faith in whatsoever. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. What have we got coming up next hour? We have Doug Giles coming on the program, and he's going to be talking about a brand new book that he's written called Rules for Radical Christians. And then we're going to have a good friend of mine on the program from the Pacific Legal Foundation at 10:30 this morning, and that's going to be Attorney Jonathan Wood. And we're going to be talking about what was absolutely one of the most asinine and stupid monuments created by Obama out in the middle of the the Atlantic Ocean. I couldn't understand it when they did it, and I understand it even less today. We're going to have all of that coming up in the next hour. Don't go away. Right now, we're going to head towards CBS News. You leave the dial right where it's at. Welcome back, and here we go into hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch on a Wednesday, June 6th. Thank you for tuning in. Brought to you, of course, by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. I mentioned this earlier this morning. There is going to be a great big auction going on in Shoshone on Saturday at 10 o'clock, the Garrett Construction Auction, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service, and don't you miss it. Going to be a good one. From the stoplight on the south side of the railroad tracks, go 4 blocks west, parking available, don't miss it, and that starts at 10 o'clock in Shoshone. Trucks and trailers and pickups and construction equipment and tractors and welders, speedboats, snow machines. Oh my, yes, you better be there. Garrett Construction Auction, Saturday, June 9th in Shoshone, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, they sell them all. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I'm very honored to have the author of a new book called Rules for Radical Christians, 10 Biblical Disciplines for Influential Believers. Doug Giles, good morning. How are you?
Zeb, Facebook and CNN, they don't like that book.
Well, I can imagine, but I got to tell you something up front, Doug. If you're on a speakerphone, turn it off and go to the handheld. It's causing too much of an echo.
Can you hear that?
Have you got it off?
It's off, brother.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Want it back on?
Yeah, no, I don't want it back on because it causes speakerphones can be a death knell to an interview. So appreciate it. Why are you and this book so much hated by the liberal media? Explain that a little bit. Give us a thumbnail sketch of what the book entails.
Yeah, Facebook and CNN aren't a big fan of my book, Rules for Radical Christians, principally because if you're a Christian nowadays, they think you ought to zip it, shut up, curl up in the fetal position, move off to some Christian little Disneyland subculture and don't infiltrate their ranks, don't infiltrate into the public square, don't parlay your opinions to their little sweet, sassy United States that they're trying to create. And my book goes completely against the grain, as you can imagine, from that kind of motif.
Doug, what's in the book? Give us kind of a sketch as to what each chapter is, what you're trying to do, and when people close the book, last cover after they read it, what do you want them to take away from it?
Well, I'm looking for a place in the Scripture, Zeb, where times were dark, like ours. I mean, socially, it's still jacked up, even though, we got Trump in the White House turning our economy around, making us a little safer, making dictators bow and kiss his ring. I get that, but a lot of parents are still concerned that this nation's going to hell in a handbasket. And so I tried to find a place in the Scripture where things were darker than George Hamilton reading Sylvia Plath and Ozzy Osbourne's closet. And boom, Zeb, I found this book called Daniel. And in the book of Daniel, his amigos, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, as teens with Danny, got drug into Babylon, and Babylon makes America look like an Amish hovel, and makes Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and all those look like penitent monks. Nebuchadnezzar was a wicked king. Babylon was a wicked kingdom. And you know what, Zeb? Blow my mind. I can't believe it. Daniel and his amigos turned it around as teenagers, but they did it through this thing called discipline, and there's 10 particular.
Doug, you've written this book, and I'm sure you've got a lot of insight as to what's going bad or what's going good in this country. I'm not real positive right now on the younger generation and a lot of the anti-Christian movement that's going on in this country. A lot of people don't believe me when I have certain stories on my program talking about a war on Christianity. Why don't you tell us your opinion?
Well, again, going back and referencing Daniel, there was definitely a war on God's people back then, and God was pro-war on His own people because they found it inconvenient to follow God. This is His people, not the unwashed masses. They found it inconvenient to listen to His law, to follow His, obey His prophets. So God says, "All right, you're not going to listen to me. Maybe you'll perk up after 70 years of judgment under Babylon's rule." And that's where Nebuchadnezzar comes in, and he drug them off with meat hooks, Zeb, and it got dark for God's people. But the little ray of sunlight that changed everything were these teenagers, man. And I'm talking teens. They're not old cats like you and I. I'm 55. These are teenagers. And they became highly disciplined. They worked their way into the center of power, being Nebuchadnezzar's right-hand man. And when he had his nightmare, those teenagers were there to turn his kingdom around. And that, to me, if you got any parents or grandparents, they've got some kids that take their faith and they're placing culture seriously, they need to read my book, Rules for Radical Christians, because it just lines out what Daniel and his amigos did. It's not my idea. I didn't come up with it. I just highlighted it and put some Doug Funk on it.
You, on the information sheet that I had in front of me, Doug, it talks a little bit about Black Lives Matter and certain blacks that are absolutely adamantly against our police. Give us a little bit of background on what this info sheet means as far as the attitude towards our police in this country.
Well, what's interesting about the way the L.A. Times pitched this, it's a church up in Oakland, and the church in Oakland, it's what kind of denomination is it? It's the United Church of Christ denomination, and they're pitching it like, these black people are against cops, and we're going to divest ourselves of ever needing a police officer again. If we get into conflict, we ain't calling them. If we get in disputes, we're going to settle it ourselves. I'm kind of conflicted on this, Zeb, because first of all, in regards to, say, defending your congregation, I think you shouldn't rely on the police. I think you should take care of it. I think you should have armed guards. As far as settling disputes, get to a place where you can be big boys and girls and iron out whatever differences you have instead of call the cops in. So I get that, but that's not what this is, man. This is anti-cop rhetoric that's being spawned. And Zeb, here's the kicker: it's being parlayed by the L.A. Times as being, something that's black against police. Has nothing to do with that. A few dozen people actually make up that congregation, and the members are largely lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, and half of this congregation of 24 are white. Most of the leaders are women, and many of them work for nonprofit social work and education, and they got Black Lives Matter banners and pictures of people that have been shot by cops that line the church wall. This is not a church. It's a radical leftist organization, that's pretending to be Christian, but it has crap all to do with the Scripture. Jesus would never. Listen, if police abuse anybody, black, white, Hispanic, I don't care, yellow, polka dot, then they need to be called on the carpet for it, and a lot of them have been. However, if this quote-unquote church is going to disparage those who bear the sword, as Paul put it in Romans 13, then they're going to have a deep problem with this thing called the Verbum Dei, the Word of God, because they don't poo-poo police officers.
Doug, I'm going to say this, and again, you can agree or disagree with me, but I'm 70 years old. And in my lifetime, I've seen, of course, Alabama, George Wallace, and race relations at that time, all-time low. But right now, I'm going to say that it's even worse and more of a dynamite stick ready to blow up because of the administration of Barack Obama and because of the race haters and baiters like Maxine Waters, Al Sharpton, and others. What are your thoughts? I'm seeing a split society right now more so than ever before.
Yeah, you're right. I think Obama cleaved America from a race relations standpoint more than Pamela Anderson's plastic surgeon did her chest. People like to blame Trump for it, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Look how he stoked the racial animus, Obama, during the last, 8 years of his reign of terror. And, and you see Maxine Waters and Sharpton and Jesse Jackson's gone a little bit more quiet. Maybe he's wising up. Farrakhan and their ilk. They keep trying to stoke this because they can't answer Trump's incredible success with our economy, with our security, with getting the embassy back into Jerusalem, with getting Little Kim, Rocket Man, to bow and kiss his ring probably next week. They can't deal with that from an economic, from a policy standpoint, from a security standpoint. So they got to foment this kind of grief. But I think, Zeb, here's again, I know sometimes I can make Van Gogh look like a rodeo clown, but I'm definitely optimistic. Maxine Waters, who everybody thinks, she's the zeitgeist that the left should follow. She had a rally yesterday or the day before for young people. 10 of them showed up.
Yeah,
probably paid. They're not listening to that crap. Nobody believes. Listen, I'm 15 years younger than you. I grew up with a lot of the same stuff that you beheld. I could probably put people who are serious racists that I've met in my life in my large bathroom at my house. This generation definitely doesn't think in those kind of racial terms. It's fomented by the left, and I think that people are turning a big deaf ear to that kind of crap.
Doug, I want to have you respond to this. I think you and I, the last time you were on my program, we talked about this, and I'd like to reiterate it one more time. The reason, and this is again my opinion, tell me if I'm wrong, that I think Christianity is under attack and under assault as much as it is today is because we as Christians haven't stopped, turned around, looked at the accusers and the people that are trying to come at us and said, that's enough. We have not learned how to fight back. We have not learned to stop turning the other cheek. And that's why Christianity's on the run today. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, we've got a soft-focused Jesus that's been peddled to us for the last century, and ergo, We think, Jesus is just this bearded lady who doles out cliches like an over-medicated Joel Osteen, and that's all there is to it. But we've completely lost the revelation, Zeb, that he's also an eschatological warrior. And his warrior spirit is just as necessary, just as obvious, even with a cursory glance of the Scripture. Christ turned over money tables, man. When he spoke, politicians and priests wanted to kill him. Matter of fact, his first message, they tried to throw him off a damn cliff. And people think, well, Jesus, he's just a little lamb. He's also a lion. And I believe, if I saw the movie correct by Mel Gibson, they killed him. And I believe they killed him because of his pointed words that blasted politicians and evil priests. And if the church wants to follow little Jesus, then they got to toe up and move into that kind of realm. Doesn't mean that we do it in hatred. Doesn't mean that we do it in an ugly manner. We're supposed to speak the truth in love, but we're supposed to speak it. And I think that's where a lot of numbnut Christians have completely dropped the baton from our Dragon Slayer himself, Jesus, and his apostles and prophets.
Doug, can it be turned around? I mean, every day we hear news stories of people not only denigrating Christianity, but also denigrating our country, denigrating our Constitution, denigrating our value system, our families, etc. Is it too late, or can we all of a sudden throw up a brick wall and say that's enough?
Well, Christianity's the only thing that will put up an altar against the flood of crap that's going on. Look at Western Europe. They said, we don't want to be Christians. We're secular. We're progressive. Next thing you know, they're hijacked by Islam. Christianity, I think, even though, yeah, it does need some shoring up. Man, look how Trump's changing things, man. And I think his boldness as a leader, even though he might not be little evangelical's cup of tea, I think his boldness of telling people exactly what you said should be said to the naysayers and the anti-theistic mooks. I think it's a trickle-down type of spirit like Reagan's economics. People are getting bold. People are standing up. And it doesn't take a whole bunch of folks. I mean, you look at some of the nuts over on the left. You get a whole smidgen of them, just like these kooks that I was referencing in Oakland. You got a hodgepodge of 20 people, and they're making national news saying that they don't want the police. That's crap. But we should be encouraged, Zeb, that if we stand up, if the teens like Daniel and his amigos stand up in Babylon and pursue excellence in those 10 disciplines, they can turn things around. God doesn't need an army. He just needs somebody who's got boldness and courage and is not afraid of what people think.
Doug, I'd like you to respond to one other problem that's going on in the world today, and that's over on the Israeli border with the Palestinians and Hamas inciting and wanting more bloodshed. And it's appalling to me that even some schools in the United States have had moments of silence for the Hamas terrorists instead of the Israelis. What's going on here? Why are we turned so upside down?
Well, that thing's been brewing since Abraham banged Hagar, and I'm afraid that Trump might be able to pull a rabbit out of his hat in regards to peace relations with that. But I'm going to be blown away if we ever see them lay down their arms. But for you to bring up the stuff about what the schools are doing, being pro-Palestinian, when again they're radical Islam, definitely anti-Jewish, anti-West sentiments. It's just part and parcel of why parents shouldn't take their hard-earned money and send their kids to a state-run university that completely blows off our only allies in the Middle East and actually cheers on their deaths.
Absolutely.
I tell parents all the time, man, if you hate your kid, then send him to public school and then take, your $60,000, $100,000, some $200,000, and spend them on to go to these universities. And then they'll come out as somebody who loathes the United States and loves Che Guevara and Castro. Those places are complete dung heaps.
Let me ask you about the book itself, Rules for Radical Christians. Where can we find the book? What bookstores, etc.?
Yeah, Yeah, the easiest place, man, it's rivals Google. It's called Amazon, and it's Rules for Radical Christians, 10 biblical disciplines for influential believers. You might have missed your kid's graduation gift. This is a perfect gift for him. It'll challenge him or her like no other book, Zeb, guarantee it. It's simple, and it's a blueprint. And it's not a now I lay me down to sleep devotional. This thing's a road-tested operational manual for Dominion.
Absolutely. Doug, I want to say how much I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to get a copy of the book and read it and have you back. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Doug Giles, thank you so much for being here today.
Right on. Stay rowdy, Zeb.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Doug Giles, and that book again, Rules for Radical Christians, 10 Biblical Disciplines for Influential Believers. I like him. He's a little bit off into the weeds sometimes like I am, but I tell you what, his heart's in the right place, and I believe he's absolutely spot on. Thank you, Doug, for being on the show. Let's see, what else have we got cooking here today? I was going to mention to you that tomorrow on the program, I was going to give you a little rundown of what we're going to do. We've got an open forum tomorrow, the first hour, where we take all your comments on various stories. And then, of course, we've got the Cache Regional Hospital meeting some more of the great folks that work over there. Rita Ramsey's going to be on the program tomorrow. And always look forward to having her on for her political thoughts, etc., what's going on. And then, of course, Cache County School Days, our business salute, and then the old fishing hole. I had more people call me and say, now, wait a minute, is he really fishing while you're doing the interview, old Josh, the fishing leader and director of Sportsman's Warehouse? I said, absolutely. Last week, he was over to Lake Walcott fishing for bass with his son, and I got to call him later on today to see where he's going to be tomorrow. I can't remember exactly if he's going to be out trout fishing someplace or whatever, but boy, oh boy, that program, a lot of people tune in, a lot of people listen to the Sportsman's Warehouse, the old fishing hole, tomorrow at 10:30. So be sure and tune it in and enjoy. I tell you, great folks. I mentioned this yesterday, and I had a couple of people call me after the program about the great big everybody's invited to the 4th of July Veterans Breakfast at the Hanson Mortuary, starting at 8 a.m. on the morning of the 4th of July. Now, I know you're saying, well, that's a couple of weeks down the road. Well, yes, it is, but make plans. They're going to have delicious food there, and this kind of a yearly deal started years ago over at Hanson Mortuary, and it's just got bigger and better over time, so they want to invite you and veterans and family members over to Hanson Mortuary. It's kind of a big way for the Heward family to say thank you to all the veterans, their service, and other people in the area. So thank you very much. And another note quickly, the American Legion Post 77 over in Paul is going to have that annual German sausage breakfast, $8 per plate. It's going to be this Saturday, June 9th from 7 in the morning till 10 at the Wilbur C. Hall at 132 East Wayne Street in Paul. They're going to have coffee and orange juice and eggs and hotcakes and hash browns. German sausage. I love German sausage. I've got to try to get over there. Doug invited me and Deanne over there, and I'm certainly going to try. Going to be great this Saturday in Paul. I got time for a phone call or two if you want to give me a jingle on the landline. What we've got coming up next hour, we're going to have our dear friend Jonathan Wood. He is an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation, and they're going to be talking about how the Pacific Legal Foundation, is challenging Obama's illegal marine monument out in the Atlantic Ocean. So we're going to be talking about that coming up next hour, and want you to stay tuned. I can't think of anything else I got to tell you right now other than we're going to send it over to Wheels a couple of minutes early right now for a break at the bottom of the hour, and we will be back with our next interview and guest in just a few minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Thank you very much and welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch for our final half hour this morning. And we're going to go right to the phone line and welcome Attorney Jonathan Wood with the Pacific Legal Foundation. Good morning, Jonathan. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well. How are you?
It's really a treat to have you back on my program again. And this morning, we're going to be talking about, and Wheels over at the station, we've got some feedback on the line there. This morning, we're going to be talking about something Obama's administration did that made no sense to me at the time, and I'd like you to spell it out to us. An illegal marine monument. What are we talking about here?
Well, you're right. It doesn't make sense. So trying to make it make sense is going to be difficult. But PLF is challenging on behalf of commercial fishermen one of the clearest cases of Antiquities Act abuse in its 112-year history. Residents of the West, of course, will be very familiar with the Antiquities Act. It has been used to lock up vast amounts of federal land throughout the West to prevent any sort of productive use to the detriment of local communities. Well, the latest form of Antiquities Act abuse, that's only about 10 years old, is to claim that the ocean is eligible for monument status. And in the last 11 years, presidents have designated hundreds of millions of acres as ocean as monuments, locking out commercial fishermen and other people whose livelihoods depend on being able to use these areas.
Okay, now let's break this down a little bit, Jonathan. I am not a lawyer, even though I slept at a Holiday Inn Express one night, but I'd like to have you tell me how you can take a body of water, and water is continually moving and it's not stationary like land. How could any president designate a body of water as a monument when it's shifting and changing and the sea creatures are always moving, etc.? How can you say that's a monument status?
Well, I don't think you can legally. When Congress passed the Antiquities Act in 1906, it limited the president's power to, quote, land owned or controlled by the federal government. It doesn't take, any expertise in the English language to recognize what the word land means. Everyone gets that, if you look at a map, the land is the part that isn't blue. And unfortunately, our presidents have tried to get away with saying that the ocean is land without any basis in law or fact. And you're right that it creates huge problems to extend the Antiquities Act power to the ocean. Not only does it not have an open and public process to ensure that the public is able to give it input, but presidents can get away with unbelievably huge national monuments. The one we're challenging in the Atlantic Ocean at 5,000 square miles is the size of the state of Connecticut. The biggest ocean monument, which is near Hawaii, is twice the size of Texas.
Oh, my.
Congress never imagined they were giving the president this sort of power in 1906.
Well, Jonathan, what were the do's and don'ts? What were the cans and can't do's when you have monument status on a body of water? I mean, could they sail in it? Could they still go fishing in it? What happens if somebody was swimming in it? What were the can't do's when you have this?
So the main prohibition is a ban on any commercial fishing throughout the area from this point on. One of the ironies is that because this land is so far from the United States, the closest point for the Atlantic Monument is about 130 miles from our coast. The federal government actually can't regulate it that much. So any other country would be free to put a cable or pipeline through that area. They could run an oil tanker through the area, and the federal government has no power whatsoever to put a stop to that. But the federal government can regulate fishing, and so it has been extremely heavy-handed in locking out commercial fishermen from this vast area of the ocean.
Was that the initial and main reason why the Obama administration wanted to do this? Why? Why did they want to try to accomplish this as monument status? I don't understand the main principles or what the benefit would have been.
This was about establishing a legacy with environmental special interests. President Obama blew every record for Antiquities Act designations away. Over the first 100 years after the statute was enacted, presidents Roosevelt through Clinton designated about 70 million acres within national monuments. President Obama alone got over 500 million acres.
Wow.
He designated absolutely huge areas, more monuments than any other president had ever done. And this was a clear case that special interest groups wanted to have a national monument in the Atlantic Ocean as a foothold to lock up more and more of the ocean within national monuments. And this was President Obama's way of giving them what they wanted.
Well, you mentioned something a little bit ago, and I don't mean to sound vague and naive on this, but you said it was 130 miles off the coast of the United States, and our fishermen couldn't use it, but what about international fisheries? That's in international waters, is it not?
So, no, it is subject to fishery regulations. So the federal government can regulate up to 200 miles out.
I see.
Any fishermen active in the area. So no one can fish in the area, but as I said, anyone could put a pipeline, a cable through the area, anyone could drive an oil tanker. There are lots of things you could do that would be far more disruptive to the environment than fishing. In fact, this has been a lucrative fishery for decades, and environmental groups say that the fishery is pristine despite those years of fishing, which I think shows that fishing is not a threat to this area. This was about power, not about the environment.
When you go to attack and hopefully upset the apple cart against a monument like this, the Pacific Legal Foundation, boy, that must have been quite a challenge. What's the status right now?
The government, the Trump administration is surprisingly fighting us on this, even though the Secretary of Interior has encouraged the removal of these fishing restrictions. The government has asked for the case to be dismissed, and we're fighting that in the federal court right now. We filed our brief a few weeks ago explaining that this is a clear case of Antiquities Act abuse, and the court should not allow the president to rewrite his power and essentially steal power from Congress.
I guess I really need to ask you, as much as you can elaborate on this, why in the world would the Trump administration want to fight this and try to keep this in effect? I see no sense to that whatsoever.
I don't know, because as I said earlier, I think this is a clear case of abuse and a violation of the law. The statute says this power is limited to land. Everyone knows what that means. This should be the easiest case for the president to say, yes, that was illegal, we're not going to defend it. But it's hard for a president to decline power. So who knows what President Trump or any future president might try to use this power for, but you don't often have the president saying, yeah, I don't have that power and I'm not going to defend it.
Has any other president at any other time tried to do this same type of thing with a marine monument?
Only two have, President Bush and President Obama. We've only had 11 years of it. I think one of the most telling facts is that for a full 100 years after this statute was enacted, no president even tried to get away with this. Everyone recognized that land means land, and you can't designate a monument in the ocean.
You know, I can't imagine the devastating effect of the fishermen and the fishery companies, etc. With that kind of a closure, this must have been devastating to them economically, was it not?
Oh, it's absolutely significant to them, and it's in some way a betrayal. The reason why this fishery is so healthy is that the fishermen have worked with regulators to ensure that fishing is sustainable. They've been contributing to the recovery of the fish populations in this area, and to turn around and lock them out of it because of the success of their efforts is a betrayal and discourages that sort of conservation work in the future. One of the ironies is that when President Obama proposed this national monument, all of the regional fishery councils, which are the groups that Congress designated to regulate the fisheries, opposed it on the grounds they would undermine their efforts to promote sustainable fisheries.
It almost sounds like a Gestapo attitude where we, the people, our voices are not being heard and common sense is being stepped on. That's what it sounds like to me. From a lawyer's viewpoint, do you agree or disagree with me?
I think the problem is courts for way too long have been hesitant to enforce the limits of the Antiquities Act. No court has ever struck down a monument as illegal, and if the court does the right thing in this case, it will be the first time that's ever happened. But that is absolutely vital to limiting the president's power. No one benefits from courts looking the other way when presidents exceed the limits of their power under statutes and invades the power of Congress.
How do you think this is going to come out with your involvement in this case, Jonathan? What do you think the net result's going to be?
Well, as I said, we face an uphill battle since no court has yet declared a monument to be illegal. It's hard for a court to step out and be the first one, but PLF has an impressive track record of setting those sorts of precedential victories. It's not foreign to us to be the first attorneys to finally win an issue after other people have tried and failed. So we're very optimistic that this is the case, where courts are going to say, okay, enough is enough. The law means what it says, and presidents can't go beyond that.
Let me ask you one final question. I'm a little naive on this, but do the government, have, like the United States Coast Guard or whomever, policing this area to see if there are any infiltrators trying to fish or travel through those waters?
Well, policing it will certainly be a difficult challenge. As I said, the closest point is 130 miles away. It takes fishermen about a full day to get out there. This is a very remote part of the ocean that almost no one goes to unless they're fishing and working. So it is a challenge to police the area. It will cost a lot of money, and there's been no consideration of whether the environmental benefits are really worth it when fishing has been going on for decades without any harm.
All right. Jonathan, tell my audience how they can keep abreast of this story on behalf of the Pacific Legal Foundation.
The easiest way to stay abreast of this case and all of our others is to follow our website, which is pacificlegal.org.
I appreciate your taking the time to come on my program this morning, Jonathan. You're always welcome. Thank you so much for what you do, and our thanks to the Pacific Legal Foundation. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, sir. Can you imagine Obama creating a national... Well, I can. I think you can too, Barack Obama. President Obama creating a national monument the size of Connecticut off the coast of New England of water. I mean, it's never been done like this, and it's supposed to be land and continually shifting with currents, high tide, low tides, everything else. Unbelievable. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I have a moment, please give me a call. I'm going to have some time after the weather forecast. I'd love you to get on the air and talk to me a little bit about any subject you want to converse about. Let's do the weather while I'm waiting for your calls, and the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to their website. Delicious meats at scarrowsmeats.com. Don't forget, they've got all the marinated prime ribs. Daddy's Day's coming up, Father's Day in a couple of days. Oh, my goodness. Or maybe the smoked hams or the breakfast bacons and the sausages and the bratwurst, all of this and more. It's delicious. Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrow's Meats. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We're expecting another beautiful day here in southern Idaho. Here is your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Expecting mostly sunny skies for today. Winds light and variable out of the east, right around 6 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 85. Tonight, we do have a 20% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms before midnight. Some of those storms moving through could produce small hail and gusty winds. Other than that, partly cloudy skies, looking at a low of 56. For tomorrow, that could carry over with a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms afternoon. Again, some of those storms could produce small hail and gusty winds. Partly sunny skies with a high of 81. Pretty much the same for Thursday night with a low of 56. As we move into Friday, sunny skies with a high of 84, and looks like sunny and 84 for Saturday and maybe Sunday. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. That number again to call, 324-7657. Delicious meats for you and your family, and they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. All right, your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give us a call on the landline, and we'll talk about any subject you want to talk about right now. Wheels, by the way, did you get a chance to go fishing last week?
Well, honestly, no, I didn't. I, of course, I had some family things to take care of, but I still plan on going this weekend.
I don't know what the deal is this morning on the gauges over there, but even you're coming through really faint, and I've got everything turned up real red pistol hot over here.
Does that sound better?
A little bit, yeah. But I know our calls were down real low too, so I appreciate it if you turn it up a little bit.
Okay. No, we'll do. I've been, trying to check the valves every time we've had a guest. But anyways, back to your question. Like I said, I've kind of had, some family things and stuff like that, and so I didn't get to try to go fishing this weekend. But I like I said, I plan on trying to.
I've got a brand new. I mean, I haven't even taken it out of the wrappings. A brand new rod and reel. I have not treated myself to a brand new rod and reel for over 35 years. I've only been fishing maybe about 6 times in those 35 years, and I've got to get that thing cranked up, and I got to go fishing. I look forward to that old fishing hole program that we have on Thursdays with Josh at Sportsman's Warehouse. Last week he was over at Lake Walcott, and this week I'm not sure where he's going to be, but he's going to be fishing actually while he's doing the interview.
And I've always thought that was awesome, that how he does that every time, especially like last year when you had him on. And so it's like I've enjoyed Lake Walcott too. I haven't been able to be up there in a couple of years, but I feel like that might be a place I need to go rather than.
What we're going to have to do? You and I are going to have to some morning, like I said a couple of months ago, we're going to have to wrap this program up, and we're going to meet at a designated place, and we're just going to go fishing. We got to do that.
We do, and honestly, maybe I'll check in with you this weekend, within the next couple days, and we'll see what we can come up with. But that sounds great. I definitely want you to be able to bust out that new reel, so maybe I will give you a call this week.
What's the biggest fish you've ever caught, Wheels? What is the biggest fish you ever caught? How big was it?
All right, well, just so you know, I can be pretty bad at math, so. I guess the biggest fish I've ever caught is a trout. I can't remember exactly how big a trout gets when they're full grown, but I've gotten a lengthy one before. I've caught a trout that's maybe about. Do I want to say it?
Here goes the fish story.
Close to a foot, maybe.
Oh, really?
To be honest, I've caught quite a few trout, especially up at like Lake Cleveland.
Okay.
And that was fun, but I haven't caught anything bigger than that. I'm hoping one day I get to at least catch a bass, just to say that I've caught one. But we'll see.
All right. Have you ever been fishing back in the Midwest and maybe caught either a northern pike or a muskie? Do you know what they are?
I know what a northern pie is. I've never caught that before, but a muskie, I don't think I've ever caught a muskie.
Muskies are big fish back in the Great Lakes. And one time when I was in 8th grade, I was out on Lake Michigan with my uncle. And all of a sudden, I felt like I was going to get jerked right out of the boat. And I hooked, I believe it was either a very big northern or a muskie, and I never did get it landed in the boat. He finally broke the line, but I'll tell you what, I can't say that I've ever caught a real big fish, but that one, if I'd have got him in the boat, that could have been a dandy. But they're a little scary. They've got teeth like razors, and if you make sure they're not going to jump around the bottom of the boat, you can get injured with those muskies and northern pike.
So I have a question then. Are they kind of like a tuna fish and like a
I think the best way to describe them, they kind of resemble in some ways barracuda or the garfish down in Florida in the warm climes. They got the really sharp teeth, and I think the muskies, I stand to be corrected on this with some fishermen out there that know, but I think the world record for muskies caught back in the Midwest, I believe, is one that was over 7 feet long. I'll stand behind that until I'm proven wrong.
That's awesome. To be honest, And that's the thing is you see all these fishing shows and stuff like that on TV, especially the sportsmen's channels. And I've seen some guys catch some pretty big fish, the professionals, of course. And wow, that's crazy. I couldn't imagine catching a fish like that.
There's some big dudes back in the Midwest, back in those lakes. Let me tell you, Superior and Lake Michigan, absolutely big. Thanks, Will. Well, listen, we're going to do that, and just as long as you don't outcatch the boss, in other words, don't catch a bigger fish than I do, we'll go fishing. Okay?
All right, that sounds good. I'll let you know this weekend if you guys are free. Maybe I'll call you on Friday or Saturday.
All right. Right now, I want to give tribute to our great friends and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with the best of tires to get ready for a road trip. If you're leaving on a road trip, I'm telling you, they can and they will help you. They've got all the car, all the pickup, all the SUV tires, and tires for your, say it again, Zeb, tires for your trailers, like your boat trailers and horse trailers. They've got them all at each location of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And along with that, you know what? They want to make sure that you have a good, safe trip, and they offer a free pre-trip safety check where they'll check the air on the tires for the tire pressure, and they'll check the brake components to make sure everything's the way it should be. They'll check the wheel alignment and for the tire wear. They'll check all the front-end components, the shocks and the struts, and they'll give a load test to your battery to make sure that when you head out on the road to point B, you're going to be able to return to point A right back at home safely. So by golly, stop in and see them today. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Absolutely the very best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, Wheels, I've got a favor to ask of you, Wheels. I've got to run to a meeting in Twin Falls, and, I'd like to have something really kind of patriotic, if we could, for this day. And next Thursday, of course, will be Flag Day. What have you got for a good patriotic song that we can stick on a couple of minutes early here so I can get on the road and I'll listen to it as I'm driving?
Well, to be honest,
He's checking his books, and he's going to play us a tune here in just a minute. And I got to make a reminder here, too, that on the 21st of June, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow, we're going to have our next lunch bunch. And Wheels, I certainly hope your mom and your grandma and everybody can be there. It'll be at Denny's Restaurant, and it's going to be on June 21st at 11:30. We're going to get back into the swing of things with our lunch bunches at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, so we certainly hope you can be there. Wheels, I'll tell you what, I'm going to turn it over to you for maybe a song or two and then go up to CBS News, and we'll remind everybody that we're going to be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06 with more Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, with our slogan, the way things are the way things ought to be. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.